It's time to talk the world's game from an American perspective. Presented by ShopFutsal.com, you're listening to Two Up Front, where we focus on all things American soccer. Now in the studio, your hosts, Baxter Colburn and Simon Provan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the following edition of Two Up Front, presented by ShopFutsal.com. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
All right, Simon Provan, let's get right to it. The soccer world. So many exciting things. The Premier League right around the corner. The U.S. Open Cup finals are officially decided, and so much more. Olympic soccer, MLS soccer. No NWSL, unfortunately. They got a couple of weeks still. But we do have an exciting NWSL interview later on in the program. We will be joined by Orlando Pride's very own number 8. They call her Apple. Well, we call her Sarah Hagen, but they call her Apple because she's from Appleton, Wisconsin. So it's kind of like a hometown spotlight / women's soccer spotlight all at the same time kind of thing. So she'll be here with us right in our second segment. Fantastic interview, great opportunity to speak with her. And then Simon's best friend, Josh Hakala of the Cup.us will be here with us as well to recap all the craziness going on in the Lamar Hunt Open Cup.
Yes, and don't be confused when you hear that interview with Sarah. We're not going to lie. Obviously, it's pre-recorded.
Yes.
I'm out of the studio for that one.
You are, yes. So
I'm here, but I'm gone.
If you're listening, you're like, wait a minute, Simon. Yeah, so
how did he do that?
Yeah, he's an actor. He can throw his voice all over the place. Like, here I am. No, I'm over here. It's like, where are you? He's a shifty guy, but we love him. But if you're a shifty fellow on social media, we obviously know that there are a lot of places people can find us, right, Simon?
They sure can. On Facebook, just type in the search line, 2UpFront. You can find us on Twitter, at 2UpFrontSoccer. Don't forget that soccer part of that.
Yes.
And, of course, website, 2upfrontsoccer.com. We're also on Twitter, Baxter, at Simon Provan, at Baxter Colburn.
Yes, indeed. If you're using that shift button to use the at symbol or the whatever hashtag that you're about to use, you obviously
I thought it was the pound sign. Why is everybody pounding everything?
Pound 2UpFront Soccer. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Of course, if you like to listen to us, because if you wouldn't be listening to us right now, you obviously don't like listening to us. So if you wouldn't be listening to us, you wouldn't be here. But you are, so we appreciate that. But anyway, you can listen to us on Fridays, of course, on the Sports Podcasting Network by going to sportspodcastingnetwork.com, and then on demand anytime on iHeartRadio, Spreaker.com, and on iTunes. Go there, subscribe, and write us a review if you are so inclined, and tell us how amazing we are, even though we already know, because we're married to amazing women. They tell us daily how amazing we are. Right, Simon?
It's good water, Baxter. I got a really good...
Anyway.
Yes, she does.
Yeah,
yes, she does.
There we go. Yes, she does. All right, Simon. Well, let's roll along with the kick-around part of the show. Lots of different things to talk about. Let's just roll down the list here. We've got a couple of different things. Some debates, some just quick hits here. Let's talk about Paul Pogba first. He officially has signed with Manchester United for a cool small amount of £89 million, or I believe it translates to, what is it, $130 million?
Around
US,
there, yes.
Thereabouts.
Yep.
Some people are calling it a bargain, Simon. The BBC is calling that deal a bargain.
Well, I was just reading through this article, Baxter. The reason they're calling it a bargain is how much he will apparently help with making money off of marketing.
Well, yeah, of course. You bring Paul Pogba to any team, he would immediately blow up your marketing.
Well, and that's why they're saying he's worth the money. It's not just
because they're going to make that back in
exactly.
a second. Yeah,
right.
Which makes sense.
And we all know the transfer market this year is crazy because of the TV money pouring into the Premier League. So everybody's price tag has jumped super high.
I'd agree. Yeah, no, it's amazing, honestly. You see these guys. I mean, John Stones is no longer a part of Everton.
I am not upset with that at all.
You're not upset
I thought
with
that was a great deal for Everton.
Fair enough.
His end
they
of the
did
season.
Get Ashley Williams, though, from the former Swansea guy. Though.
Well, now they're talking possibly about selling Lukaku. I think that would be. Be a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
However, Stones, he did not have the best. I'd say like the last 5 to 6 games of the season he was not playing his best, and even throughout the entire season he was up and down.
I'd agree with that.
It was an odd year. So I'm okay with the money they got for him. Everton can now invest this.
Mm-hmm.
It actually gives me some hope for Everton.
As an Everton fan, you have to. That's all you live on is hope, basically.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
But,
yes.
And I wish you the best of luck. Which brings us to our next thing with the Premier League. It starts in just a couple of days. I believe it starts Saturday officially. So tomorrow, if you're listening to the show here on Friday. It's a full slate of games, of course, for those that love the Premier League. And, of course, the one question on everybody's mind, will Leicester City be even half as good as they were last season?
They will be half as good.
You think they will be at least half as good?
I think they will finish somewhere in the top 7.
Top 7. I think that's respectable, obviously. I mean, they're going to be, of course, a part of the Champions League. They get a first-round bye. They skip over all the formalities that are.
Yeah, they're in the group stages,
which is crazy. Which I mean, more power to them, I guess. At that point, but. You have to wonder. You look at the games that'll be taking place this weekend. I mean, Everton Tottenham I think will be a big one, of course, on Saturday. Arsenal Liverpool I think will be a big one. Chelsea West Ham. Otherwise, it's kind of just a slathering of games back and forth. I mean, Leicester they play Hull City, Swansea Burnley, West Brom Crystal Palace, Stoke Middlesbrough, Southampton Watford, Man City Sunderland, and then Bournemouth Man United. So. Not exactly, the world-class schedule of opening weekend, but I feel like a lot of eyes will be, of course, on Arsenal, Liverpool, even the Man United Bournemouth game, because people want to see how good is Jose Mourinho in his first, and how good is Lawton, how good is Pogba, things like that. But do you have I know you have so much free time in your life, Simon, but are you gonna try to catch even some of the Everton game at all, or are you just gonna kind of monitor from afar?
Well, Baxter, I'll actually won't be coaching, but I'll be watching my daughter in her first tournament of the season.
First tournament already.
I gotta sit on the sidelines now, which is it's already been difficult for me to drop her off at practice.
Have you invested in duct tape to put over your mouth so you're not like playing that parent coach?
I promise not to be the parent coach. I
bring
absolutely
your megaphone, be like, run faster! Be like, come on.
No, I'm going to say, hey, Sarah, tell her to.
Yeah, I just tell the wife. Be like, who's the soccer mom? She won't stop yelling at the kids.
But she sounds really smart.
Yeah, exactly. They're playing a 3-4-3. You need to press up. Pull the wingers. Be like, what is going? Wow, she's smart.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'll be able to. I'll set my DVR for a few of the games. Of course, I do have to check in on my Everton boys.
Of course.
But I am interested in also the other Merseyside team as well, and checking out the Arsenal Liverpool game.
Yeah. I think I'm very excited about this, honestly. I mean, a very interesting thing about this, Arsenal has lost just one of their last 9 Premier League meetings with Liverpool, which
it'll be interesting because a lot of people feel both teams were very underwhelming in the transfer market.
Yes. Oh, horribly well, yes.
But at the same time, Arsenal finished second last year, and I think, despite what most people are saying, I think they have a lot of potential for this season. Because they haven't gone out and bought a lot of players, but they have kept their team intact.
Agreed.
And with how strong they finished last year, I'm interested to see if that carries over.
I agree with you on that one. Speaking of teams, Simon, that maybe have not been as strong as some people thought they might be, is Brazil in the Olympics. And the big question swirling around that, first of all, it took them 205 minutes to score their first goal in the tournament. And they still won the group. That's insane to me. They won the group.
Well, it's not as surprising to me because it is the Olympics. The Olympics are always a little bit of a crapshoot. I mean, look, Mexico, the defending gold medal winner, is out.
Yeah.
Argentina is out. Germany finished second in a group that includes Fiji. It's maybe Portugal's the favorite after all this, or Nigeria. Nigeria's been
a great season. Been a great team to follow.
Yeah, and especially in the Olympics, the Nigerian Super Eagles seem to always put on a great show in the Olympics.
And it'd be great to see them finally, take home something. I mean, an Olympic medal is obviously not a World Cup, of course, or even an African Cup of Nations. No, but it's a big deal.
Listen, there's a lot of U.S. fans laughing at Mexico saying, you didn't make it the group stage. Guess what?
We didn't even
make it, period.
Yeah. And we've heard a lot of criticism come from guys like Taylor Twellman and other analysts saying, this is unacceptable. This is 2016. We have an incredible youth system. We have players that are very capable of stepping up and winning at a high level. Why are we not there?
Well, absolutely. And the whole point, too, I've also heard Taylor Tolman, and the comment I love most that he's made is, Brazil, Argentina, Germany, they don't need the Olympics to improve themselves.
No.
The U.S. does.
Exactly.
Because we don't have the experience of world championships for
our younger players don't ever get the opportunity to do this. I mean, think about it. Like, if we would have made the U23s, I mean, Christian Pulisic would have been probably starting every single game. There's so many different guys consistently that you can have on the field that are younger players that us as U.S. fans like, I wonder how good this player is going to be. I wonder how good Julian Green's going to be. I wonder, you could have gone through such a long list of guys that are shining right now for their clubs that don't see the light of day on the senior team.
Well, and the tough thing is, too, my point before, is we've had our youth teams not make some World Cups recently as well. So there's this whole generational gap of what does it mean to play in a big international tournament for the U.S.
You're absolutely right about that. And one person I think that has come under a lot of criticism as well has been Neymar with Brazil. And the decision that he said to not play in Copa America and said, you know what, I want to play for Brazil, my home country and my home city, basically, my home nation. I want to be the face of Brazil soccer. And he's had a very underwhelming Olympics so far. And I wonder, Simon, did he make the right decision to not play Copa America? A tournament at this point that many people know is obviously far better than what we're seeing in the Olympics right now.
True, I understand that, but I would still say no, I don't think he made the wrong decision. I mean, the Copa itself definitely felt more like an exhibition tournament, as it was. I mean, it was the second year in a row that the Copa was played.
Yeah.
Brazil has never won the gold medal in the Olympics. It's the one tournament that has eluded them, and it's in your home country. So I say no, it wasn't a mistake.
Yeah.
But Nigeria, by the way, did win a gold medal in '96.
Oh, good for them. Okay, I was wondering if they had or not. No, I feel like Neymar was better suited playing in Copa America personally, because that Brazil team was very disappointing as well, and I feel like his presence there would have really stepped things up, because the Brazil senior team that people knew from even the early 2000s, they just haven't been the same. I mean, they got completely ransacked at the World Cup a couple of years ago by Germany, and that was arguably one of Brazil's best teams. No, it just really wasn't. And in a Copa America, you're playing your heated rivals like Argentina and Chile and Colombia and the U.S. and Mexico, of course, are there too. But I think Neymar really missed a golden opportunity to help Brazil get back. I think winning a Copa America would have really been like, you know what, Brazil fans, we're good. Everything's fine. I think winning the Olympics, because it's not FIFA sanctioned, I feel like is a difference.
Well, it is FIFA sanctioned. They work together with the IOC on
of course,
this. But
yeah.
Overall, I understand your point.
Yeah.
And I totally get what you're saying, but I think with the opportunity of being able to win a gold medal for your country still
means a lot.
It means a lot. And again, if this had been a quote-unquote normal Copa, I'd be in total agreement with you, Baxter. But for the fact that, again, it was more of an exhibition Copa.
Yeah.
Almost a replay of last year, same champions from last year.
Yep.
You know, did he really miss that big of an opportunity with the Copa America? I don't think so. To me, it was an underwhelming tournament.
I'd agree. No, I don't have too much of a counter-argument against that, because it was. I mean, regardless, at the bottom line, it was a very underwhelming, boring tournament as a whole. All right, let's look at MLS here for a brief moment, because there's two big things I want to hit on. Two questions I have for you, Simon, and I will obviously answer as well fast as we're here in the kick-around, first part of the show. Is Sebastian Giovinco a clear MVP
Yes.
winner? 100%.
Don't even think about it. Yes.
Two hat tricks in the last 4 games.
Yeah, he struggled for a little while. And when you say Gio struggles, that means he scored, 2 goals in
only
4 or 5
oh, darn.
games?
I've only scored 12 goals in the last 5 games.
But yeah, he's carried TFC into the playoffs last year. He's carrying this team again this year. You know, Josie's out. Gio was still scoring goals, and if he wasn't scoring goals, he's feeding goals to Jordan Hamilton.
Yep.
So he's been doing it all.
I'd agree with you. I mean, I feel like there's nobody else that it means more to their team. You can make an argument about Piatti. You can make an argument, of course, about Valeri as well, what they've been doing for their teams. But when you talk about one singular player putting the team on his back and consistently doing it, like Valeri's great. Valeri can send those balls in, but Valeri's not scoring world-class goals.
Well,
consistently.
Consistently. I was going to say his last goal was world-class.
No, that was an incredible goal. No, I have no argument against that, of course. But
then we see Gio in one game score a goal from an impossible angle near the end line and bends it around the entire defense and the goalkeeper. Then we see him take I believe it was off of a restart. It wasn't a direct restart, but curves it all like it was going to go out of bounds and comes back in over the goalkeeper.
How can you go from one world-class goal to an even better world-class goal? There's not another category past world-class, I feel like, at that point. So I'd have to agree. I think at this point, barring some sort of injury or something, there's no reason why he shouldn't be the unanimous MVP, I feel like, at the end of the Landon Donovan MLS MVP at the end of the year.
I still want Landon to come back and
win it himself.
Return, yes.
I won the Landon Donovan. Landon Donovan wins the Landon Donovan Trophy. That would be amazing. All right, final question for you before you have one more thing you want to talk about, of course. What do you think the chances are of FC Dallas winning the treble?
I think they are the best that we've seen in a long time.
Agreed.
Now, obviously, they're in the final for the U.S. Open Cup after that lethargic game against the LA Galaxy
Yep.
that ended up becoming very exciting in the extra time periods. I think they're the best team in MLS right now, which we'll get to later as well.
Of course.
So you've got those two that they're in striking distance of the Supporter Shield, if not top. Actually, I haven't checked the standings.
They lead the standings right now.
Right, and with how consistent they've been, Baxter, with their power players. And, I mean, they've got a young roster that plays very exciting soccer.
Agreed.
That anytime they step on the field, I think they're the favorites to win the game. So, absolutely. And the seriousness in which they took the semifinal, they put almost a full-strength team out there against the LA Galaxy.
I think the bottom line is if FC Dallas makes it from the Western Conference, there's no team in the East that I can honestly say will actually beat them. Like, there's no one team I can look at in the Eastern Conference and be like, well, if they play Toronto, if they play Montreal, they actually could lose. No, there's not a single team in the Eastern Conference that I'd be like, they're done. Like, the Western playoffs are going to be much more entertaining than the final.
Yes.
At this point.
Well, you would hope so. At the same time, we've talked about this before, the West beats up on themselves so much.
They do. When you finally get to the final, you're almost sputtering in, like, we have 3 healthy players. It's like, oh, gosh.
Although that does set up then, like, 11-round shootouts where the ball hits the post, both posts, and bounces out.
Every single time.
But, they could almost win the quad as well, the quadruple, with winning the Western Conference crown. Just one of those unique things in American sports.
Exactly. That's true. They could technically take home 4 total trophies. All right. You have one other thing you want to briefly hit on before we go to break.
Real quick. So I just think this is an interesting note, Baxter, that from the U.S. U17 team, so this kind of goes back to what we were talking about.
Okay.
Austin Trusty signed a pro contract now. He was going to be going to the Tar Heels, so University of North Carolina, who's got a pretty decent program. But instead he has signed with the Philadelphia Union. He is the 16th player from the U17 squad to sign a pro contract, which means you've got a lot of players now going to these academies, jumping onto these basically USL teams now, for the reserve teams.
Yeah, he'll play Bethlehem Steel probably.
Exactly, and skipping college to do so. Now, in the end, I have no problem. That's how it works pretty much around the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
My one thing is, are we in a place right now where these teams are paying enough that it makes sense to be skipping college?
Well, if you're going from a high schooler that you make whatever, $750, $850 an hour working whatever high school job you have to all of a sudden even making $30,000 or $40,000 a year, you're probably already going to be making that after your 4-year degree anyway, depending on what major you do. Why not do it in a job you actually love?
That's a very fair point. And, of course, you can always go back to school.
Exactly. You hear about that all the time.
You live once.
Exactly. Go back to school. You don't play soccer for, until you're 60, 70, 80. Like, he'll probably play, if he's healthy and lucky, until he's mid-30s.
And I will say the one thing I think the league is doing now, if I've read this correctly, they're sponsored by that online university.
Southampton University.
Right. And I believe they're providing these kids with...
Which is good. It's online school.
Well.
You get that opportunity to do it on the go. We've seen Omar Gonzalez in those commercials, too. He's technically down, not even in MLS anymore. He's down in Mexico, but he's still pursuing his degree and saying, look, I play professional sports. I still make time for my degree because I know soccer is going to be done at some point in my life, and I still want to be able to provide for my family and have a career and make a life for myself, which is very commendable. Absolutely. And I think that... I can see the money bags, of course, in this young fellow's eyes, of course, saying, I can make $30,000 a year. Whoa, I can make 40 or whatever they pay USL guys. Probably anything over $20,000 a year is a big deal for these kids. They don't need much. He's 17.
And if you're getting that free education, again, why not?
Exactly. You're absolutely right. All right, we're going to run to a break. When we come back, Sarah Hagen of Orlando will be here with us to chat about her journey around the great, wonderful place.
And by the way, all MLS teams still undefeated in CONCACAF Champions League play.
By the way, I love it. You're listening to 2 Up Front, presented by ShopFutsal.com. Welcome back inside the studio for another edition of 2 Up Front, presented by ShopFutsal.com. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
Simon Provan joining us remotely again. You're are you on a boat? Is that what I've heard, Simon? Where are you today? I'm a little confused.
Well, I've been cleaning a boat all day back.
Cleaning a boat.
I couldn't head over to the studio. Yeah, we're going.
But you're a radio host. When do you have time to go on the high seas?
Well, you're kind of like the low seas, heading up north, which is as our next guest will probably confirm. Going up north, Wisconsin, at least once a year is like the thing you got to do.
That's true. No, you're absolutely right about that.
We're heading up north soon.
Fair enough. Well, the Provan clan is hitching up the wagons. We do have a great guest hailing from Appleton, Wisconsin. She goes by Apple, but some people might know her better as Sarah Hagen of the Orlando Pride, and she joins us now here on Two Up Front. Sarah, how are we doing today?
I'm great. Just happy to be along in this conversation.
Absolutely. Well, we're excited, Sarah. I mean, I think the biggest thing right away for those that know our show is that we are here in Wisconsin, down in Milwaukee, and you have a big tie to the state of Wisconsin as well, too. You're from Appleton, Wisconsin. Your nickname is Apple. You're a Packers fan. It's just the list goes on and on of reasons why you're already the coolest player in NWSL. But I know that we're all very excited to have you here, and of course, you've been around the league a little bit here and there too. But how are things looking right now with the Orlando Pride? You guys are halfway through your inaugural season, and how are things looking? And how are you feeling as well as a player?
The season's been going well. Obviously, it's our first season all together, so there's been some difficult times, some also great times, good memories. We are currently in about a 3-week break because of the Olympics going on, and we actually start up again on August 26th. So right now we're just trying to maintain our fitness, and then once our national team players get back, we'll try to close out this season. We have 5 games once we get back from the Olympics, so we have 5 games to kind of really push into gear and try and make a run for the playoffs.
No, you talk about being that run for the playoffs right now. You guys are sitting outside the playoff rankings right now. You guys are 6-9-0 on the season. Not exactly the worst of inaugural seasons, as some teams know. I mean, sometimes it goes all right, sometimes it all falls apart. But I feel a lot of that does attribute from having some of those other dynamic players on your team. Talk a little bit about what it's like to have Alex Morgan and Ashlyn Harrison, a couple other of those incredibly talented international players, as well as yourself as well. Kind of all together, figuring it all out together this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been difficult. Just everyone's kind of thrown together, and you basically have a month of preseason to kind of try and make things work for your first game. So, I think we started off the season on a good note, and we're able to get some good wins. I mean, I'm sure we would all like to be sitting a little bit higher up in the standings, but I think we've also brought a lot of excitement to the city of Orlando, especially, when you have names like, Alex Morgan and Ashlyn Harris, like you've mentioned. And then you also have, we have 4 other international players who are playing in the Olympics as well. So, and I also think if you talk to anyone that was in the stands during some of our games, we tend to make them pretty entertaining and exciting, and we kind of find a way to win right at the last second. So it's been a season of highs and lows, that's for sure.
Yeah, one of the highs in the season for you, Sarah, was getting that game-winning goal against Seattle on Mother's Day. For people that don't know, you were actually diagnosed and fought cancer when you were 15 years old. What was it like to score that game-winning goal on Mother's Day, considering the lens in which you view life through?
Mm-hmm. That was pretty exciting. Probably one of, definitely top 5 moments of my career. And even just in life in general, I had just celebrated 2 days before that my 11-year anniversary of being cancer-free. And I ended up scoring the game-winning goal, which happened to be in the 11th minute of the game. So,
oh, wow.
That was kind of crazy.
It's always funny how things like that work, yeah.
Yeah, and as Baxter had mentioned with the introduction, you went to UW Milwaukee. You played with Appleton Soccer Club, Brookfield Soccer Club, the old FC Milwaukee's Nationals. if you could go back and just, tell the people of Milwaukee, the great state of Wisconsin, what it's like to be representing UWM on the big stage. I mean, on top of that, of course, you played in the women's Bundesliga over in Germany with Bayern Munich, and now you won a championship with FC Kansas City last year, and now you're with Orlando Pride. Starting many games, putting in a lot of minutes. What's it like to represent? And maybe you don't look at it that way, but certainly, obviously, people outside of it do to represent the state.
It's a great honor, and it's something that I'm very proud of. You don't really hear of too many soccer players who have made it to where I am today coming from Wisconsin. So, when I go back to Appleton and am in the area, it's great to do little clinics and little coaching sessions with some of the girls growing up because, they've heard of my name and if not have seen me play before. So, it's great. It's a great feeling to know that, there are kids that look up to you and, playing, club soccer in Milwaukee and Brookfield and then going to school there at UW Milwaukee. Anytime I go back there, it's great to interact with the people of, all the staff at UWM and just being involved in the community. And then, obviously going overseas to Germany, and then deciding after 2.5 years to come back to the U.S. League and give that a try. So far in my career, this is my 4th season as a professional, and I don't think I would have done it any other way. Coming out of college, I decided to go straight overseas to Germany to play, which ended up being a great decision because like a month after I was over in Germany, the U.S. League folded. So the playing in the German league was great for my career as a player and also just as a person of growing up and coming out of college and kind of taking that jump into the real life. And I'm happy to be back in the U.S. League and especially with a team like Orlando, an organization like Orlando where everything has been very professionally managed and the community really has embraced the whole women's soccer.
Talking with Sarah Hagen here on Two Up Front of the Orlando Pride. Sarah, one thing that we always like to ask our guests that have had the opportunity to play both overseas and here domestically are the differences. You had the opportunity to play in the Bundesliga, which from the men's side, as many people know, is arguably one of the best leagues in the world, even from a women's perspective too. I mean, FC Bayern Munich, they have an incredible women's team, and there are a lot of other teams all throughout Europe that are incredibly talented. But are there noticeable differences between playing in Europe and now playing in a revitalized NWSL, especially after winning a championship too with FC Kansas City?
Yeah, I mean, there's huge differences. I would like to say that the Bundesliga, the German league, is much more concerned with the way that you move the ball up the field. It's much more technical, tactical, whereas I feel like the U.S. league sometimes is based much more off of your speed, your strength, your quickness, agility. So, I mean, there are similar, aspects to the game. It's both good quality soccer. But for me, I think I probably have done better over in the German league, just as far as the buildup of soccer. Whereas here, for me personally, being a taller, more target forward, the speed of the game has been a little bit of a challenge for me.
And that's one thing I was curious about, too, is because you had such big success over in Germany while you were there. I mean, you scored 38 goals in 51 matches, and here you've only scored about 9 goals in your time in the NWSL. Does that concern you at all from the fact of, like, hey, I had such a high rate of production in such a short amount of time, and now for some reason I can't put the ball in the back of the net as consistently? Has that been injury? Has that been the players around you just getting accustomed to being back in a different league, or what exactly is that?
I mean, when I first came back to the U.S. League, I thought, I was able to score a few goals in our games, and kind of just ever since last season, it's just been, my minutes have been down quite a bit, and just, like I said, I think sometimes the speed of the game, whereas, the U.S. League, like I said, it's much more based on your speed, your strength, and a lot of times most teams play much more direct. And so that favors more so like a forward who's quick and fast and behind, whereas I'm more of a box kind of player. So I'm hoping that this is our first season all together at Orlando, and we're still trying to all figure out how everyone plays. So hopefully next season and going into the rest of this season that we can start finding those moments more.
Well, Sarah, I don't want to leave this Germany discussion behind just yet, because there's one interesting fact about you that doesn't have anything much to do with soccer, but apparently cupcakes you make are actually very famous in Germany.
Yes.
So
yeah, they are.
Share the story a little bit.
Yeah, so when I was living over in Germany, I don't know, me and my roommate must have been talking about how we've missed cupcakes, or how we had cupcakes one time to celebrate something, and none of the German teammates knew what a cupcake was. So we,
sad.
we try to translate it and show them a picture, and like, oh yeah, we don't have those. So I was like, what? You guys have never had a cupcake before? So, yeah, I had to put my baking skills to use, and whipped up a few different kinds, and then kind of brought that back to the U.S. with me. And I just like baking and cooking in general. So.
That's awesome. So the Irish celebrate St. Patrick's Day with St. Patrick bringing the gospel to Ireland. Maybe someday we will have the St. Sarah Hagen Day for bringing cupcakes to Germany.
I like that.
That'll be a first. Yeah.
And you've got a good fallback too if soccer doesn't end up working out for you, Sarah. Be like, just open Sarah's Cupcakes or something like that. Well, one other thing I'm really curious about, Sarah, here before we let you go is the consistent. I don't want to call it stalking, but the consistency of Lyon and France going after your teammate Alex Morgan. Have you heard anything more about what's going on with that? Or as a teammate of Alex, have you seen how she's been able to handle that? It's kind of almost comical at this point of how much Lyon just continues to kind of go after her on Twitter and say, hey, come play with us. Hey, come do this. Hey, come do that. And is it I'm just curious from a teammate perspective, if you've seen any more reaction of how she's taking it, or just how you as an outsider kind of view the whole situation.
Mm-hmm. I haven't actually talked to her much about it, but I mean, if you were to talk to any club in the entire world, I'm sure that they would be, trying to get Alex Morgan, and especially with Lyon having such a profile as a team, why not put the pressure on her to try and come there? So, but I haven't talked to her much about it, but I think she's happy to be here in Orlando. She's here with her husband. So, yeah.
Well, I just want to say, Sarah, the next time you're back our way, I'm going to make sure that I know that's happening, because I've got a 9-year-old daughter that's playing soccer. I'd love her to do a clinic with you, but I'm also going to demand some of these famous cupcakes come with me.
Okay, I can do that.
Fantastic. I love it. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for taking time today here on Two Up Front. You can catch Sarah, a part of the Orlando Pride. She wears the number 8 jersey, and she represents the great state of Wisconsin very well, not only off the field with her beautiful cupcakes, but also on the field with her incredible goals as well. Sarah, it's been a pleasure, and we hope to have you back on the program again in the future.
All right, thank you so much.
We're going to run to a break. When we come back, we've got much more in store for you. You're listening to Two Up Front, presented by ShopFutsal.com. Stay right here. Welcome back inside the studio for another edition of Two Up Front, presented by ShopFutsal.com. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
All right, Simon Provan, let's check out the Olympics and our wonderful U.S. women's.
Before we do that, Baxter,
yes.
I have to apologize, and if Sarah's still listening, I'm sorry for for murdering your last name, saying Hagen instead of
Sarah
Hagen.
Hagen.
But I got to tell you where it came from.
Okay,
so I'm thinking
please.
of this whole cupcake thing, right?
Yes.
And talking about having this day to celebrate Sarah Hagen.
Yes.
Well, when I started to say it, and I was thinking Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Therefore, instead of saying Hagen Day, I went with Hagen Day.
It makes sense to me. I mean, Hagen Day or Hagen Day cupcakes instead of Häagen-Dazs, and she was in Germany at the time too. So I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah. So I felt bad after the syllables came out of my mouth. I was like,
wait,
oh no,
wait, that's not what I meant. Too funny. Well, yes, special thank you to Orlando Pride forward Sarah Hagen for joining us in our last segment, and we look forward to seeing her on the field again for the Pride, of course, but also for the U.S. women's national team as well, too. And just a remarkable story, too. 11-year cancer survivor as well, and just everything that she's done and overcome is truly remarkable.
It's an awesome story. We would have loved to be able to spend more time with her to talk more about that. So I encourage all you fans to go out there and check out her story online. It's really an amazing, it's inspiring is what it is.
Exactly. No, that is the best way to put it in total honesty. When you look at it and you look at the people out there, I mean, obviously you play a game and that's very entertaining, of course, and sells tickets and does all this wonderful stuff. But at the end of the day, it is about the people, Simon. It is about their stories and what they personally overcome, and it's remarkable what she's done. And we look forward to having her on again, of course, in the future. All right, let's look at the game that's going on right now. Literally, as we speak, the U.S. women's national team is playing Sweden. For those of you that are fellow lovers of the show, we're not a live show, unfortunately. We record the show usually about a day before it comes out. So whatever we're saying right now, we either look very smart or very foolish based off of how the game is
but nevertheless,
going.
we will preview this game.
We will, regardless. So as soon as this comes out, as long as you listen to this before halftime, you'll be like, oh, okay, sounds good.
The good thing is it means we don't have to spoil anything because we actually don't know what the score is right now.
Exactly. I'd like to assume where the U.S. is winning.
Yes.
Hopefully.
So, Baxter, about this game, they're taking on Sweden, so of course you got the storyline of them playing against their old head coach and Pia Sundhage.
Yeah.
I never know how to say her last name.
Pia Sundhage is how I've heard it.
Great.
Sundhage.
I'm going to go with Pia.
Pia. That's how everybody calls her is Pia.
So I know they played each other in, was it the last World Cup?
Yep.
And many people thought that maybe Pia would actually be able to exploit that, and of course that
Sweden's
didn't happen.
Terrible.
So I'm going to go out there on a limb and say I think the U.S. is winning this game right now. If they're not, they're going to win this game and move on. But there were some trouble spots in that 2-2 draw against Colombia.
A surprising draw.
A surprising draw. At the same time, Jill Ellis did play some of the reserves. And
she did.
Of course, Crystal Dunn had
It's amazing when you say
goal.
she played the reserves because our reserves are better than 90% of the world's starting 11.
Yes, and that's what exactly what I was saying.
Mallory Pugh is
Mallory
not
Pugh,
a reserve.
Crystal Dunn, both great goals. It was great to see Crystal, who's been on our show, to have that success. There was one spot on that field that everybody knows by this point that was surprisingly poor, and that was Hope Solo. 2 goals scored against her, and both of which she could have easily had. Of course, that first goal just trickles basically through her legs after she gets her hands on it. Second goal, a little bit more forgiving, a nice curve, and she did get a hand on it. But when you are considered the best goalkeeper in the world, you're expecting to see her be able to parry that ball and not have a goal in the goal and finish that game 2-1. But instead, they drew with Colombia 2-2.
And you have to give credit to Colombia, though, for not sitting back because the U.S. beat Colombia in the World Cup 1-0 thanks to Carly Lloyd's wonderful things that she does, of course. That's why everybody loves Carly Lloyd. But at the same time, you got to credit Colombia for not going away, though, and proving that, hey, I don't care how good the U.S. is. We still want to try to win a championship. We still want to prove that we are a good women's team. Not even though our men are one of the best in the world, we as a women's team want to still prove ourselves as well too. And credit to them for putting the best team in the world in a compromising position.
Yeah, and they scored their first ever Olympic goal, and it's great that you get to say that was against the U.S., the best team in the world. And then you score your second goal ever at the Olympics, also against the U.S. So, yeah, give them credit. I was a little disappointed, actually, in Jill Ellis going with Hope Solo in this game, because if you're going to play some of the reserves, why not put your backup goalkeeper in there as well and give her that experience?
You've already qualified for the quarterfinals. Why not just let your backups get an opportunity? But either way, though, looking at this now quarterfinal game with the U.S. and Sweden, the U.S. all-time, Simon, have absolutely dominated this. They are 26-10 against Sweden. They have scored 64 goals. Sweden has only scored 32. It's a goal difference of 32 goals, Simon. They've met once in the Olympics too, so there is that. But the U.S. won that meeting 2-1. Of course.
Well, and just looking at this tournament too, I mean, the U.S. struggled in that first half against France when they played, and they ended up winning 1-0. You know, they responded to a poor first half, so I'm expecting them to respond really well to this draw against Colombia. I think a lot of people are trying to make more of this draw than really what it was. And I really do feel confident that they'll go up against a Sweden team who finished third in their group. Perhaps that was a bit of a surprise, but I feel confident that the U.S. won't be overconfident and that they will win this game. But that's the thing is you can't look at this now and go, oh, Sweden, they finished only third in their group. No problem for us.
And for those that know a lot about the United States, they know that they have never lost a quarterfinal match, ever. When it comes to big games like this, big tournaments, the U.S. have never lost an Olympic quarterfinal, winning their 3 previous matches, of course, in the Summer Games, when they have scored 2 goals in each of those matches, which the way they've seen them so far, I mean, they've scored 4 total goals in their 3 group games, 2 from Carly Lloyd, and then, of course, 1 from Mallory Pugh and 1 from Crystal Dunn as well. I am curious, though, Simon, not about the U.S., but about Canada. And what they've been doing.
What a great match they had against Germany, winning 2-1, and now they take on France in their quarterfinal. I actually think this is the match of the quarterfinals.
If you're watching any single game, yes, of course, support the U.S., but please go watch the Canada game, because that right there, I would love a Canada-USA gold medal match.
Absolutely.
I don't know bracket-wise if it works out like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to see here if they even have that listed. They've got the games listed, but not an actual bracket. But nevertheless, going back to Canada here, Baxter, they're the only team to have won every single game that they've played so far.
Incredible.
So,
and they play with just such dominance, too.
They do.
That's the big thing. Like, at the bottom line, if you're looking at this Canada team is outplaying what even the U.S. is doing right now.
Yeah, anytime you go out and beat Germany 2-1, and Germany's been having a fantastic tournament, it's Canada, so I don't want to say it's a big surprise, but I think it did surprise a lot of people.
I think so, with how poorly they played in the World Cup. If you look at the Canada team that showed up in the World Cup and you look at where they are now, you've got to be disappointed. It's like, wow, okay. And I am actually right about this, Simon. Based off of what I'm seeing here, the U.S. versus Sweden, they will play the winner of Brazil-Australia. Canada plays France. China plays Germany. So the U.S. and Canada can meet in a gold medal match.
And, you look at this, too. So I think Germany's going to beat China.
Yes.
But either of these, or any of these teams, is going to make a great final, Baxter, whether it's the rematch of the 99 World Cup with U.S. and China. And this is me assuming U.S. goes through. Brazil could give them some trouble. Australia could give them some trouble as well.
We saw that in the group in the first game of the World Cup.
That's right. But a North American championship with U.S. and Canada would be pretty awesome. And then seeing that rematch of the U.S.-France game, could France exploit more of the U.S. As they did in that first half in their group stage game?
I'd agree. All right, well, let's do some predictions fast, even though this game is taking place right now. Let's start with Brazil-Australia.
I'm going to go with Brazil on this one.
I'm going to go with Australia just purely from they're my underdog of the teams remaining. I'm going to pick Australia. USA, Sweden.
My heart's with them because we've had so many
of course,
Australians on
Lydia,
the show.
We've had Ellie Brush on here, of course. Like we love Australia. We're like closet Australia fans, of course. USA, Sweden.
I got to go with U.S.
Yeah, same here, of course. Canada, France.
This is a tough one,
it is.
But I'm staying with the Canadians and Christine Sinclair and the magic she continues to work.
I really want to say Canada, so I'm going to just to be safe. Just to be safe. China and Germany.
Maybe not as much of a cakewalk as people may think, but
I think the Germans are going to be mad after losing to Canada.
Yes.
And China just seems to be that. China or Australia have to be the weakest team left. I don't know which one would be considered the weaker. Probably China,
which is kind of surprising where they were at just a decade ago, but I'm going to go with Germany.
Okay, I would have to agree with you on that one. That would put Canada, Germany in the semis, and USA and either Brazil or Australia, because we split on that one.
Right.
So, all right. Well, obviously, let us know your thoughts. You can find us on social media. 2upfront Soccer on Twitter, at Baxter Colburn, at Simon Provan. Shoot us an email too, 2upfrontsoccer@gmail.com. When we come back, Simon, Josh Hakala of the Cup.us is here. Don't miss it. We'll be right back. This is 2Upfront, presented by ShopFutsal.com. Welcome back inside the studio for another edition of Two Up Front, presented by ShopFutsal.com. I'm Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
All right, Simon Provan, it's time to talk about the one thing that you love possibly more than your family, than the Portland Timbers, than almost life itself some days.
I wouldn't go that, well, maybe some days. No, I wouldn't go that far, but pretty close.
Pretty close. We're going to be talking about the U.S. Open Cup, right? What else would we mention in the same breath as something that you love more than almost life itself? Is there anything else that you really love more than U.S. Open Cup action?
Like in the soccer world?
Sure.
Well, I do like I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. I mean, I can't say I like it more than my Portland Timbers.
Sure.
I can't go that far.
No, that would be sacrilegious.
when we're talking tournaments, yeah, this is it for me.
This is it. Okay. Well, I feel like it's only fair, Simon, that we bring back your best friend when it comes to talking about the wonderful world that is the U.S. Open Cup. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is the senior editor of thecup.us. It is Josh Hakala, and he joins us here on the program once again. Josh, welcome back to Two Up Front, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You are very welcome, Josh. We're excited to have you. We are all done with the semifinals. We have the New England Revolution up against FC Dallas in the final. FC Dallas, of course, hosting after their second winner over the LA Galaxy. And at this point, your job almost as the senior editor is almost kind of done now. You've gone through that crazy turmoil that has been all the rounds, the little teams, the big teams, and now we just have a final left to play. Is it relieving for you finally to know that your job for this tournament, at least for this year, is nearly done?
Well, I still have all the stuff that I have not been able to do up until this point. So, I mean, all the statistics and everything that have come up to this point, like I still have box scores to track down from previous games, and so there's still stuff to do, but but it's a little less chaotic than, say, the third round or something where there's like 20 or 22 games in one night, and
exactly, and you're just like, I don't know what everybody won. I don't know. It was crazy.
Can we just I think there's some days where I just want to write just post the scores and just go to sleep.
Exactly. Figure it out. Go to Twitter or somebody, guys.
I may do that next year. I don't know. I don't know. Like my 14th year of doing this, I might just meet a breaking point.
Well, I would say you've definitely earned the right to.
I feel like it at this point, Josh. Yeah, after 14 long, hard-fought years, it's amazing. You don't see what you do on this big of a basis, honestly, anymore, and it's incredible, obviously. So, congratulations for nearly making it through another Open Cup tournament as a whole. You must feel just about as tired as some of these teams that have been playing the entire tournament as well.
Yeah, too. There are those days where, and I won't lie, and not because the game wasn't interesting, but I was nodding off at times last night because it got to be those days where you consecutively don't sleep very well, or don't sleep very much, and then your body reaches a point where it's like, you know what? Enough of this, and then they just start shutting down on you. And so
let's be honest, Josh. Too. I mean, that LA FC Dallas game, the first 100 minutes was not the greatest game to watch. There were chances, right. But it was pretty boring. But then, of course, you had 6 minutes of a lot of frantic action going on, and FC Dallas pulls off what, to me, was almost unbelievable, the way they stormed back after that PK goal that LA ended up scoring.
And I think a lot of people who were watching that probably felt like that was going to happen at some point. I didn't think they were going to leave it that late, but it was certainly, once the goal was scored by the Galaxy, you're thinking, oh boy, but they've still got a pretty good advantage. Although, the Galaxy had inserted, 3 of their best players into the game at that point. So, evening things up a little bit. And so you really didn't know what to expect, but you thought, with the whole game and they were playing pretty well, and you thought that there was going to be a breakthrough. But yeah, they sure did leave it late, and it made it pretty exciting.
Yeah, I was actually surprised because, of course, the Galaxy did have. It seemed they had a few more reserves than FC Dallas. I mean, FC Dallas started Urruti, Seitz, Harris, Zimmerman. You go down the list: Acosta, Barrios, Diaz. It certainly seemed like, for me, that this was a game that FC Dallas was going to pull off, I don't want to say easily because it's never easy against the LA Galaxy, but easier than the Galaxy certainly made it.
I'd agree with that, yeah. I mean, looking at this team, I mean, as a whole, you look at the starting 11 for both teams and you say, well, there's no reason this game should have gone 122 minutes, basically, and had to take 121 minutes for a team to finally take that final grasping win overall, I feel like.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the more exciting semifinals we've had in a while, and to have it end that way, and have it, I think everyone kind of went on maybe a roller coaster of emotions from the beginning of the game, where the Galaxy didn't start a lot of their starters, and kind of probably maybe even wrote the game off at that point. Like, oh, Dallas, they're already a really good team. They should just blow through them, and they canceled each other out for the first 100 or so minutes.
Well, I do have to say, I did send out a tweet last night that said, it looks like most of the LA Galaxy fan base cares about the U.S. Open Cup as much as Bruce Arena does.
Seriously. I mean, but it's funny, though, too, because as soon as the game was done, you saw Bruce up on the touchline hollering at the refs saying we needed more, I think he wanted more time after that goal was scored because they just kind of restarted the kick and then they blew the whistle and the game was done. And he looked frustrated, but it's funny how he kind of turns that on and off from when he's upset about it, and then most of the time he's like, yeah, it's just a tournament, here we are. And Caleb Porter's been accused of that too for CONCACAF Champions League sometimes as well too. But I mean, at this point though, especially with a coach like Bruce Arena, Josh, do we feel like is he ever going to care about a tournament like this, or is this just a formality?
I mean, if he hasn't by now, probably not. I mean, although I mean, I do sympathize with the situation. I mean, he's sitting here playing against a team that didn't play the previous weekend, and they did, and then they had another game coming up, and you've got to expect teams to put out at least the rest a few starters. Yeah. So I think the people who expect every single Open Cup game to be if you have to play the Martians type of lineup, then you're not being realistic. It's just
no, absolutely not. Yeah. So, the one thing I would say to argue against that is, there are so many MLS games, and LA's sitting pretty in the Western Conference. I mean, yes, they're in fourth, but really, if you look points per game, they're sitting in third. They can burn one of their regular season games when you're talking about a semifinal of a possible trophy.
If for no other reason, the fact that you are that close to a Champions League spot, and why not get that out of the way?
Exactly.
I mean, make it sound easy. I mean, you're that close. So yeah, I was a little surprised that the lineup looked the way that it did, and but I can't. There's also another part of me where that was saying, well, maybe they put out a team out there that can hang with them for the first half, maybe first 60, 75 minutes, and hey, you've got three really good players sitting on the bench waiting.
Oh yeah,
good point. To rescue you. And that's pretty much what happened. Except that they waited and those players didn't rescue them. Mm-hmm. But that plan was working out pretty well.
I'd agree with that, yeah. And I'm sitting here watching this game too, and correct me if I'm wrong, Josh and Simon, but I'm looking at this game going, this is very easily going to be the MLS Western Conference Championship, round.
Yeah,
I feel
very well could be.
I would be surprised, honestly, if it wasn't, based off of how good these two teams are.
Well, some people were saying that was the de facto Open Cup final because nobody thinks that the Revolution, that the Revolution are getting the DC United treatment from 2013, even though they're not that bad. But I mean, they're obviously the underachiever of the team that's left.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Out of the Final Four.
Well, it would have been ironic. It would have been ironic had Chicago won that game because we'd once again be looking at. Yeah. The very last place team in MLS going to the final like that DC United team was, and of course they ended up winning the thing.
Right. We did we looked at the record books and everything, and as far as I can tell, that DC United and DC fans hate to hear this, but they or maybe it's interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's kind of a fun fact that you maybe hang your head on. I don't know. But they are the worst team to ever win the Open Cup out of the 100 years.
Wow.
So,
wow.
There's never been a team in the history of the tournament that has been in last place.
They got to have some sort of a claim to
bottom
fame.
of the table. I don't even think that there's been a team that's been like really low to the bottom. But much less the worst team in the whole league. So
wow.
It's we couldn't find one.
That's incredible.
Wow.
Well, that's incredible. Let's hang on that for a second then here, Josh. Let's look on New England and Chicago here for a moment. Obviously a game that, for those that are big fans of the Eastern Conference, they're used to this Revolution Fire rivalry. You know, people talk about it, you know, from those early 2000s when Taylor Twellman did that bicycle kick in the playoffs to help beat the Chicago Fire, you know, as part of the Revolution. And you can go back and forth with this rivalry, but watching this game and seeing these two teams play, the only reason Chicago was even even in this game is because of what David Accam was doing the entire night. He is by far, in my opinion, one of the most versatile players in all of MLS, and I think he's horribly underrated too. He's never in the same conversation as, you know, dynamic playmakers as Piatti or even Giovinco or some of those other guys that can tear defenses apart, but obviously the Revolution just had more pieces. At the end of the day, they are just a more put-together team. Maybe not, you know, as you mentioned, the best team in MLS, but when you're looking at what the Revs have on the field compared to what the Fire have on the field, it was David Accam versus the 11 Revolution players for pretty much all 90 minutes.
Right. And yeah, they definitely did. But yeah, Accam might even get some votes for, you know, and there's always this rare situation where you get a player who is on a team that gets eliminated in the semifinals and still gets votes for player of the tournament. Mm-hmm. And I think that he will, because I mean, just what he pretty much was the reason the Fire even got to this point. And so, I mean, I have to take a broad look. I have yet to do that, to look at every player and kind of look at their whole body of work. But off the top of my head, I mean, there aren't too many players. You know, Diego Restrepo from Fort Lauderdale will probably get a few votes, even though they got eliminated last round. But
sure.
You know, it's those kind of things. You got to look at the whole body of work, and he really, you know, it carried this team. And so, I mean, if I don't know, we don't really call it do we call it an MVP? No, it's a player of the tournament. So it's not really MVP. But if it's an MVP, you could make a really good case for him. But
I'd have to agree with that. Yeah,
five goals this tournament. Is that correct? Yeah. Leading the Open Cup this year.
Yeah, I mean it's a bit of a shame too. I mean he played 89 of the 90 minutes of that match because he got a straight red card after his altercation with Kellen Rowe. But aside from that, I mean, obviously at that point, Chicago, they're not going through, of course, to the next round. But obviously,
no, that didn't. Yeah, they had already fallen behind 3-1.
Yeah, exactly.
But still, I mean, it doesn't look good on the resume.
Of course,
no, and you gotta feel bad a bit for Chicago for the fact that they were all in on this tournament. I mean, they realized that their season in MLS once again is gone, basically.
There's nothing to do.
So they put everything into this cup that they possibly could, and for them to end on such a sour note too, again, you got to feel a little bit for the Fire fans.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, it's interesting, obviously, to see how they've, come and gone, obviously, as that power franchise, but, it's just how it goes sometimes, though, I feel like.
I think that they're the only team in the history of the tournament to make 4 straight semifinals twice.
Wow!
Like they did it in their heyday, and then they've done it recently with no heyday.
Right.
So I mean, it's pretty impressive what they've been able to do. The fact that aside from like a small window there, I don't know what was that roughly between 2008 to 2011, where it didn't really seem like the franchise was taking it very seriously. Aside from that, this is one of those franchises that really puts the tournament on pretty high on the priority list.
Yeah, right. Are they the last club to have won the double, both MLS Cup and U.S. Open Cup, or is that the Galaxy when Steve Sampson was coaching?
Last one, you mean with the double with the Open Cup, or are you talking just any double?
No, I guess more of the true. Yeah,
so the Sounders have done the double.
Sounders did the Supporter Shield and the Open Cup in 2014.
But who was the last to do
the last double? I think was the Galaxy in 2005.
Okay,
okay. With the Open Cup and MLS Cup, so it's we've had a few, but not no trouble as of yet. But FC Dallas might be making a run at that.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about that earlier on in the show as well too, about the chances of FC Dallas competing for that treble. So, okay, Josh, before we let you go, we got to get your thoughts about this final now. The Revolution and FC Dallas down in Dallas. We're not going to even see this final for another month. Basically, it happens, I believe, September 21st is the actual final. Does New England have a half a chance at all at this point, or is it going to be, a clear FC Dallas victory all the way?
No, I think it'll be a final like anything else. I think it'll be close, but I think that, the last time these two teams played in the Open Cup was when it was in the final in 2007 in the very same stadium, and the Revolution showed up and beat them.
That's true.
The Revolution had a really good team back then, so that was but it was, I don't know. I have a hard time betting against FC Dallas at home, but it's another month, a little more than a month. I don't think we have the date set in stone yet, but I think it's roughly September 21st.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
They still have to figure that out. But but FC Dallas a month from now, are they still going to be the same team? I mean, if they're anywhere near where they're at right now, then I think that might be your favorite. But if for any other reason, just because they're at home and because they are who they are. So it's tough to bet against them.
Absolutely.
One thing, Josh, and I know you've talked to other shows about this as well, but I'm just curious about your thoughts on the attendance. For me, it is disappointing. And I know there was
nobody at that Galaxy game.
And I know that you had put out a tweet, I believe, about how it still was basically a record-setting semifinals as far as attendance average, but isn't it a little disheartening to see the lack of amount of people in the stands for what should be considered important games?
Yeah, especially for the semifinals. It's one of those things that it's just kind of a mystery to me. But last year was good. Obviously, Sporting Kansas City packed a record. It was a record, 16,000 people. But other than that, you look back and just other than a few blips, the 2013 the Fire drew 11,000. I think Real Salt Lake had 14,000. That was like the best average we've ever had, with like about 13,000 between the two or something like that. So, other than those two examples, it's been really, really sad. Although there were some years where they were at smaller complexes.
Sure.
So I think it was 2009. DC United played at the Maryland Soccerplex, and Seattle hosted at Starfire. So those aren't like big, seating, places, but still, you would expect a little better out of this. But yeah, you're right. It was like 9,000 was the announced attendance for New England. 6,000 and change was for the Galaxy. They're always generous. Whenever they do that, they round up and they count the dogs and cats and everything.
Exactly, the staff, a couple of stray birds.
But sadly, it was the third best attendance of the modern era, with the average attendance, like close to 1,000. And yeah, I looked at that. I had to make sure I had my numbers right, because I was like, that can't be right. It's just you go back and I've got the list here. It's like, the average attendance between the two, from like 95 to like 3,000, 7,000, 2,000, 6,000, another 2,000.
That's
5,000.
crazy.
Yeah,
it's not like I think even for semifinals though too. It's like it's like another MLS game though. Like these on a normal quote unquote MLS day, these people are drawing usually in the teens for their games. You know, but why only 6,000 or 7,000? That just blows my mind.
Well, part of it, it's got to. Part of it rests on U.S. Soccer's shoulders as well, of not really promoting this like U.S. Soccer should.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree.
No, I think that everybody can agree with that. It's also, there were also a few experiments along the way that certain, like there was one year where I think it was the '99 year where the Rhinos won, where the both semifinals were held at a neutral site, Virginia Beach, and Virginia Beach. I think off the top of my head, I think the weather was horrible on top of that. And so you had like a bad weather double header between the Rhinos. And so let's say you're like Joe Schmo soccer fan of Virginia Beach, Virginia, and the Rochester Rhinos, a team you probably never heard of, are coming in to play the Columbus Crew, and then the Charleston Battery, also team. Although I guess Virginia Beach Mariners were around back then.
So sure, they were, sure.
So Charleston Battery are in town to play the Colorado Rapids. If you're like a soccer fan, and those are two
no chance
semifinals, like the best A-League teams against the best MLS team, two decent MLS teams anyway. And they only drew like 2,000 for that.
But, incredible.
But it's midweek. I don't know what you can do really. I mean,
sure.
I think maybe at a certain point, I think they have to at least get the final on a weekend. I mean, if you think about it, there can't be. I'm not a schedule maker. I don't know all the logistics involved with this, but last I checked, there's only 2 teams that take part in the final.
That's right.
Usually,
that's right.
Why don't you look ahead? If you give this much time, let's say a month, like we have right now, more than a month before the final, that gives you plenty of time to, if you have to, move a game.
Right.
And I guess I've heard arguments against it that they say, well, we don't want to, we have fans who make plans. I'm like,
if you support your team through and through, I mean, not to draw this conversation out longer, but if you go to the Premier League and you watch those FA Cup games and those Capital One games and the regular Premier League games for any team, those stands are full every single game, regardless if it's their Sunday league team out there, that they're supporting, or if it's a full-fledged Premier League team. Like it's
exactly
they do or die there.
Sometimes if it's not a team they're super excited about, then like these lower division teams, if you're like you only pay attention to MLS, well, okay, maybe you don't know who the Rochester Rhinos are or the Charleston Battery or whoever, and that's a tough sell maybe.
Yeah.
But a final, okay, more than likely you're going to have another MLS team. It's a final.
Exactly.
It's, Champions League on the line. You should be able to sell that. And let's say if it's a regular season game against the Colorado Rapids or somebody, okay, you could move that.
Exactly.
And you'd only have to do it at worst. 2 teams would have to make arrangements.
Exactly.
So I don't see how they couldn't make that happen. Just at least for the final. Semifinal,
exactly.
Maybe I'm asking too much, to move.
I feel like at this point, Josh, you've got enough pull with the league. You'd be like, look, guys, I've been doing this for 14 years. Just throw it on a weekend, make everybody happy, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I don't think they listen to me.
Awesome. Well, Josh,
we do, Josh.
Exactly, we do. Well, Josh, we appreciate you using your Open Cup knowledge on us on our show today, and we appreciate you stopping by. Josh Hakala is the senior editor, the senior guru of all things U.S. Open Cup. You can find him at thecup.us, and you can find all the greatest information there, of course, as well. And Josh, where can they find you on social media as well for all your interesting and exciting tweets that you send out?
Yeah, we pun out a whole bunch of random stats. If you're a stat geek, then you'll like us.
Love it. Simon is a stat geek.
There's a lot of tweets where I'm like, I know you don't care about this, but that was the 3rd time that this has ever happened.
Exactly.
So,
people are like, wow.
But we're at US Open Cup, which is not to be confused with the official one, which is at Open Cup, which started up about a year and a half ago. So we've been doing this for it counts like 7 years old. So we're still chugging away at it. And on Facebook. Same thing, Facebook/US Open Cup, and Instagram. I'm trying to use it more, but I don't have a camera. I'm not going out to games and things.
Sure.
But we're working on it.
Fair enough. Well, Josh, we appreciate you taking time today, sir, and we look forward to having you on again in the future. All right.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
All right, we're going to run to a break. When we come back, we got more exciting action in store for you. We're going to jump into MLS a little bit deeper. Talk about the weekend that was, and some crazy action for the Portland Timbers and the Revolution, finishing on opposite sides, and of course so much more. You're listening to 2 Up Front, presented by ShopFutsal.com. Back here on another edition of 2 Up Front, presented by ShopFutsal.com. I'm Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
All right, Simon Provan. MLS, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, let's take a look at it. Fun week that took place in MLS, of course. Some big games circling around, some blowouts, some surprises, a lot of draws, and at the end of the day, yes, interesting things all around. I'm not even going to bother talking about San Jose NYCFC because it was a 0-0 draw in San Jose. If anything, credit to San Jose. They're on a 4-game unbeaten streak right now.
What if I want to talk about the game?
Do you want to talk about the game?
No.
I didn't think so.
Okay.
I knew you would. I knew you brought that up purposely just to say no because I'm like, you have nothing to say about this game.
You know me well enough.
I do. I've done a show or 3 with you.
There's actually, can I be honest, Baxter?
Yes.
There's not much to talk about from this previous week.
You're right.
And not that the games were bad. There were some exciting games, but things finished fairly close to what I expected.
Yeah. No, I think you beat me by at least 2 or 3 predictions, I think, this last week.
Yeah, I think I was 5-4.
And I was 3-6 or something like that, I think. I mean, we don't need to talk about Montreal beating Houston. That was supposed to happen.
That was supposed to happen.
Colorado beat Vancouver.
Yeah, I will say the one thing, give credit to Montreal, again, being without Drogba and still being able to win this game 1-0.
Of course.
But it's against Houston, so
it is. Houston is the Chicago Fire of the Western Conference.
Yeah,
they really are.
Yeah.
Colorado beats Vancouver like we thought they would. No, even with Giles Barnes in the lineup, Vancouver didn't get that spark that they needed.
No, and it's up and down season for them. Whereas Colorado's been very consistent. Yeah, they had their loss a couple of weeks ago, but
one loss in the last 17 games, something ridiculous like that. It's not much to really ride home about. It's like good, they beat a team they were supposed to beat.
Baxter, I do want to point out you beat me in fantasy.
I did,
which was weird because when I checked after the last game, I was actually ahead of you by a point in the standings. And then when I went in this week and looked at things, I went, wait, how did he get 18 more points over the course of no games being played? So I think some math must have been corrected as they went on. But Hairston for Colorado, who got a goal and 17 points in fantasy, I actually played him.
You did?
And only 1.4% of owners actually played him.
That's incredible. I think what ended up happening is Kevin Molino, because he was a part of my starting 11, as you know, because he was part of your starting 11 too. He got subbed out.
Okay.
And I didn't sub him.
Okay.
I don't know who got subbed in his place. Might have been Axel Schultberg. I don't know who got subbed in his place, in total honesty. But even still, though, that's probably one place where points were made up after him.
See, and we've talked about this. That tool has never worked for me ever.
I have no idea.
Which is fine.
Yeah. So I finally am in second place in the league.
Even though I was.
Yes, you are. You're only behind me by a couple of points. So I'm catching up to our first place guy there too, because he's been playing consistently.
I've been catching up with him as well. We both topped. Who was in second, now down in fourth place.
Yeah, so we'll have to see.
Anyways, people don't care about our fantasy.
Exactly. 50 points from Giovinco this last week after a hat trick, because I captained him as well, too, of course.
Yes,
so hat trick against the Revolution. What can you say? Bobby Shuttleworth, Brad Knighton, doesn't matter who's in goal for the Revs. They need a new goalie. They just do. I'm done
Which is amazing because he had a pretty strong year last year.
Bobby was a great goalkeeper last year.
Decent start this year, but he has just fallen apart, Baxter.
A lot of that, though, too, is the miscommunication on the Revs back line. I mean, sure, they've got some good players, but they've got good forward-thinking players. They don't have a lot of good defensive-minded players. I mean, everybody that plays defense, Chris Tierney, is known for making those left-sided runs. Landon Woodbury is known for making his right-wing runs. Even Jose Gonçalves and Javon Watson, they're known for getting up the field. They don't have a lot of guys that are going to be like, you guys go, I'll stay back, and I will defend the fort. It just doesn't happen. Doesn't happen very often in New England. They don't have that Jay Heaps hard-nosed defender anymore that'll just run you over to get the ball, basically. So TFC get a very important victory.
Bring back the old player manager.
Yes.
Jay Heaps, throw on the jersey.
Probably
get
be
out
better
there.
Than some of the guys they've got on that team right now. I will say a surprise result was DC and Philadelphia, though, finishing 2-2 after DC acquiring so many talented players now through the transfer season. They finish in a 2-2 draw with Philadelphia, who did not play Alejandro Bedoya in this game, but credit to Steve Birnbaum in the 94th minute with the game-tying goal.
Yeah, and it was quite a bit of drama there at the end, as you said, giving DC that point there with that 2-2 draw against Philadelphia. Good for DC United because that was in RFK. And, they haven't been the best team, again, with attendance, but hopefully that gets more people out there.
Hopefully. Chris Pontius, of course, for the Union, scoring against his former team to what he thought at the point was the game-winning goal. But then, as we mentioned, Steve Birnbaum swinging back around for that game-tying goal.
Yeah, and Taylor Kemp also netted his first goal for DC.
Good for him.
It was good for him because he's actually been one of the bright spots in the DC backline. So it was good to see him get rewarded with a goal as well.
I agree. Other games, Simon, that we need to talk about?
Well, gotta mention. Well, okay, they beat Chicago 3-1.
All right,
no surprise there.
There we go.
But that I will say, I was surprised by the Portland Sporting game.
I was wondering.
Again, because of the back line of Portland, they're going up against a team with a player like Dom Dwyer up top, and to see them not only win this game, but commandingly
Just
win this game.
Sporting Kansas City.
We mentioned at the beginning of the game, Diego Valeri had a scorcher of a goal in the 65th minute.
Incredible.
And then Jack Jewsbury doesn't score very often because he doesn't play very often for Portland, but he's in there and he gets a goal, and then Adi finishes the day off. So Portland with a very commanding 3-0 win over Sporting Kansas City. It's amazing that we're in week 22, Baxter, and we still don't know who Sporting is.
No, I don't even think Sporting still knows. Because Benny Fellhopper has been... I don't even know what Benny Fellhopper's been this year. He's been a disappointment.
Dom Dwyer's been a disappointment.
I agree.
They've had injuries in the back, so they're kind of dealing with the same thing that Portland was, not as severe as Portland has been. So I get some of that as well. But it's just a very inconsistent team. Is it time for Peter Vermes to be let go of?
Maybe. I mean, he's a great coach, though, regardless, so I'm sure someone would try to swoop in and snag him around. We talked about it last show. Vancouver probably not going to get rid of their coach at the end of the season. But, looking around, Houston, we already know they got rid of their head coach. And we know Wade Barrett's the interim right now. But will he be the full-time coach at the end of the year?
Don't think he's earned it, to be honest with you, at this point.
I don't agree. I don't think so either.
But before we lose track, Baxter, how about it? Clint Dempsey.
A hat trick. 3 of the easiest goals Dempsey will ever score in his life. Jordan Morris does 99.9% of the work, and Clint literally just has to go,
do we know why Molino didn't play this game?
I did not hear.
I didn't hear of an injury. I didn't hear of an illness. So if you out there know why he didn't play.
He knew we were starting him, and he's like, nope, not going to do it.
So if you do know, send us a line on Facebook or on Twitter. Tell us why we're stupid, why we should do this stuff.
Please. But don't say we're stupid. I don't know. But Nicholas Ladero, though, 2 semi-assists in this game as well, too, along with Jordan Morris, of course. Finding the pockets, finding what it takes to swing those balls around and make it seem like he was actually a very good signing.
Well, and I think he was a very good signing, and I think he may be the thing that turns his club around again. And it is a bit of a shame that Siggy didn't get time with Ladero, that Siggy Schmid got let go, and then Ladero plays his first game. But give credit
to
Jordan.
Another good coach that's still floating right now.
That's right. And give credit to Jordan Morris, who could have taken a shot on one of the assists that he had to Dempsey, but he had the frame of mind to pass that ball off after seeing Dempsey out of the corner of his left eye. Mm-hmm. And as you said, Dempsey taps it in.
And then he ends up getting subbed off in the 59th minute because, as the way the Seattle coach put it, he could not keep up with Jordan Morris anymore.
That's right?
What I've heard, yes. They said he couldn't keep up with what Jordan was doing on the field anymore, so that's why Dempsey got his hat trick and then was pulled off in the 59th minute.
Wow.
Which is true. Jordan Morris is far more conditioned player at this point in the career, of course, between the two. And then, of course, the Red Bulls blowing a 2-goal lead of the Galaxy battling back.
Yeah, but still, to go from New York all the way to the West Coast and walk out of the Home Depot Center. It's not the Home Depot Center anymore. The StubHub Center with a point is still a big accomplishment.
2 goals in 9 minutes. Mike McGee still saying, hey, guys, I'm around.
Well, he scored a
still
PK
scoring goals
at the Open Cup game as well.
And then Ashley Cole. Guy doesn't score very often, but when he does, it's usually a nice-looking goal. So.
And ironic about that is Ashley Cole is the guy who got the goal scored upon in that U.S. Open Cup semifinal.
Cover that post, Ashley. Cover that post.
That's one thing that is just erupted on Twitter, Baxter, is zone marking. Why are you zone marking on a corner,
on a set piece,
especially on a second corner when you just got beat with zone marking on a corner a few minutes ago?
What's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Feel like that might be what we're experiencing.
Could be.
I don't know much,
Could
Simon,
be.
but what I do know is that it's time for our predictions.
Or did Bruce Arena say, "Ooh, I found our weakness.
Yes.
Now we know how to lose this game."
Now, perfect. He's like, Ashley, cover that post over there. Yes, good. I don't know. All right, let's look at some predictions for this upcoming week of action.
Let's do
Vancouver
it.
and San Jose playing tonight. They take each other on in a game where traditionally you'd like to say, hey, I don't know. And I'm going to still say, I don't know. So I'm going to take a draw.
Hey, that's what I was going to take.
Oh, good.
How about that?
Glad we're all on the same page here. DC and Portland. What do you think about that one?
Whew. Well, DC's giving up goals again. Portland's scoring goals again. But
So
how long will that last?
You'd like to assume.
I'd like to assume that Portland's going to win this, but I'm actually going to pick another draw here, Baxter.
Okay, I'm going to take Portland. Even though DC hosts, I think Portland is going to still exploit DC. The Red Bulls in Montreal, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Don't know, hopefully Drogba plays.
Drogba should be playing. He's served his suspension, which means he's going to be very well rested.
Yes.
Bradley Wright Phillips hasn't been disclosed yet as what his injury is, so we're not sure about that. So I'm taking Montreal on this. Even though they don't do well away from home, I'm taking the Impact.
That's who I've got too in my game. Columbus and NYCFC. Columbus, kind of just that team in the East that they're just there, hanging out,
Giving up goals.
playing soccer.
I'm taking New York City on this because of my comment I just made, is Columbus gives up goals and New York City FC has found their scoring touch with Lampard. Villa's been a little bit quiet, but you see Harrison scoring goals, even McNamara getting in there with a few.
Tommy McNamara. I'm going to take this as my upset for the week.
Okay.
I'm going to pick Columbus.
All right.
The Revs hosting Philadelphia. Alejandro Bedoya will make his first appearance in the Union jersey alongside teammate Charlie Davies as well.
How does New England do at home, Baxter? They do pretty decent, don't they?
They're decent at home. That's the honest truth about it. They're not it's not a fortress like Colorado is, but they're decent at home. I can give you the official figure. They're 5-2-4. They've only lost twice at home this year.
And how is Philly on the road?
Philly on the road is 1-6-4.
Okay, there you go. I'm taking New England.
Okay, there you go. Sometimes the numbers are just all you need, and that's what I'm going to do as well as the Revs. In this game as well. FC Dallas and Sporting Kansas City, a game in the past, especially even last year, we'd have been like, this is the game. Like, everybody get your TVs, watch this game. It's not going to be the case.
Other than the fact that I think FC Dallas is one of the most exciting teams to watch in MLS, and that's who I'm picking for this one.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Even though you're not going to think that they're not going to be tired after their 121 minutes worth of play against a good Galaxy
That's
team.
a great point, which makes me think, if anything, it might be a draw, but I think they're going to be so high off that game, and they're going to want to show people that we can do both of these. Now, maybe they pull
Morrow.
No, actually, I was going to say which team is it that played almost all their reserves against Seattle and then lost 5-1?
Wasn't that FC Dallas?
Was it Dallas?
I think so. They lost 5-1?
Yeah, they lost 5-1
They lost 5-0.
to Seattle.
I thought Seattle just beat FC Dallas a couple weeks ago by beating them 5-0.
I'm still going to take FC Dallas.
Okay.
I have to.
I'm sticking with them too. Houston hosting Toronto FC. Is there really much of a question here? Houston, they just can't seem to string two passes together. Toronto, it's Giovinco.
This is a quasi upset.
Okay.
I think the humidity in Houston is going to affect Toronto quite a bit, so I'm going to pick a draw on this one.
Interesting. All right. LA hosting Colorado.
Whew. This is another tough one. But LA is going to be very well rested.
Seriously, maybe that's what they were going for.
I'm going to take the Galaxy on this.
I'm going to agree with you. Again, Chicago and Orlando.
Well, Orlando has not looked good, if we're going to be honest about this.
No, neither team has looked that good.
They haven't. You know what? The Fire gets their fourth win on the season.
Oh, my gosh. I literally just typed Chicago in my prediction, and then you go and say that. Seattle and RSL.
Again, another tough one. RSL's been an up-and-down team. They played great this last week. Seattle has been a down team, but they looked great this last week with that Clint Dempsey hat trick. I'm going to take Seattle. So maybe that's my upset.
Maybe that's upset as a fan. That's your upset as a fan, I feel like. Because you never take Seattle for anything.
That's true.
I've got RSL winning this game. I think the way Yao Plata and Burrito Martinez and Nick Raimondo, who is only 34 saves away from breaking the all-time MLS save record, the only record he does not own yet in MLS goalkeeping lore, basically. He's not going to get 34 saves in this game, though.
I feel like sometimes these stats, though, like having these records in MLS, obviously it's an accomplishment. I don't want to take anything away from it. But you have so many players, like Brad Friedel, for example. He played a couple of seasons in MLS, but then he left and played in Europe, you know. We're both big fans of Landon Donovan. But even his records, it's like, okay, well, Clint Dempsey went and played in Europe for how many years? So I think you see what I'm saying.
Sure.
That they're impressive, but not as impressive as if it were.
Well,
elsewhere.
Nick Romando's played. Well, yeah. I mean, Nick Romando's played in MLS his entire career.
Exactly.
Though. So
right,
in that state, I get where you're coming
from.
Right. All right, Simon. Power rankings right after this?
Sure.
All right.
Ready to rock and roll.
2 Up Front, presented by Shop Futsal. Back after this. Back inside the studio, 2 Up Front, wrapping things up. I'm Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
All right, Simon Provan, let's do some power rankings.
Let's do it.
Some I believes and signing offs, as we always do on the last part of the show. It's been a good show, wouldn't you say?
It's been a lot of fun, especially with our two guests, Sarah Hagen and Josh Hakala from the cup.us.
We're just butchering everybody with a HA last name tonight. Goodness.
No, but it really was, got to say it again, that interview with Sarah Hagen was so much fun for us, Baxter.
I agree.
Just a great person to speak to.
Great.
And same thing with Josh. Always good to have him on.
Oh, yeah. You can tell his level of comfortability, too, with us, too. He's just like, you know what? You guys are great. Let's just hang out. Let's have a good time. Let's talk about it. And I was surprised about that, too, because he's like, I don't get to talk about the U.S. Open Cup very often. I'm like, isn't it part of your job to talk about the U.S. Open Cup?
Well, I guess part of his hobby.
Part of his hobby, that's right. He's not physically paid to do that.
Right. Which makes it even more impressive, all the work that he puts into that website. And how much
amazing.
It's great.
I agree.
And, I was listening to him on Thursday, making the rounds, other soccer shows. So
and we appreciate him keeping us in our arsenal as well.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Arsenal. Oh, sorry. This English
Premier League starts
so.
Tomorrow. Watch it if you're a fan or not. All right. Power rankings. Here we are, Simon, doing our thing, talking about rankings and such. My number 5 is fallen. They have fallen all the way from number 2. My New York Red Bulls are at number 5 this week.
How did they fall from number 2 to number 5 after that draw with whatchamacallit, LA Galaxy, and then winning the week before that?
Because they blew a lead.
Okay.
They gave up a 2-0 lead.
But 4 spots? Or 3 spots?
The team that took their spot has been more impressive in my eyes.
Okay.
In my opinion.
All right. Well, speaking of teams that are impressive, Toronto FC. I wasn't buying into them because it's Toronto. But 4-game win streak now.
Yeah.
So they enter my power rankings, which actually knocks out a team that's going to surprise a lot of people, and a lot of people are going to go, "What? Are you serious?" And yes, I am serious.
Okay. Why are you so serious?
Why so serious,
exactly.
Baxter? You're number 4.
Who'd you knock out, though, Simon?
Colorado.
Crazy. Why?
They've lost.
They've lost 1 game in like 63 years.
Yeah, but I'm tired of the draws.
True.
Their win against Vancouver. It's Vancouver.
You're supposed to beat Vancouver this year.
They lost to NYCFC 4-1.
5-1.
5-1. There you go. Thanks for making my argument even more for me. Yeah, I just don't believe in them as much as I mean. Again, too, we both picked LA.
Yeah.
So my confidence in them is not as high, and it all goes back to their offensive power. I mean, look where one of their goals came from this week.
Yeah, you're right. No, I
defensive player.
Good for him, though.
Oh, great for him.
Anybody can score for them. That's how good they are.
Well, then why are all these draws happening?
Because
all these shutouts.
It's Simon soccer. I don't know. All right, number 4 for me is the same that I had at number 4 last week. It's FC Dallas. They're playing well, of course, but at the same time, there's still a couple of things that are still bothering me. Yes, they're the best team in MLS right now it's hard to argue against that, but they're not the most powerful team in MLS right now. They've the last couple of games. They beat Vancouver 2-0. They drew with Colorado 1-1. Then they beat Chicago 3-1. Then they lost to Seattle 5-0. I know B team.
Yeah, that was the B team.
But still, even looking at the last 3 games, which is a big part of what we judge off of here on the show.
Yeah.
You beat the worst team in the league. You beat one of the other worst teams in the league, and then you draw with one of the best teams in the league.
Right. Well, you're going to make this argument soon, where I'm going to put this right back on you, Baxter.
I know. They weren't impressive wins, though, in my opinion.
This is where I say you look at the way they played, and they were very impressive wins. They're a very exciting team. Look, that loss against Seattle, they played their USL team basically.
Yeah, they don't even have
you throw that out the door. They've got one. So even if you keep that there, one loss.
Yeah.
Within 7 games,
which is why they're still in my power rankings.
Right. Well,
I don't know. Who's your number 4?
My number 4. I got to go back and find out.
I can tell you.
Montreal Impact.
Montreal. They were not even in my power rankings last week.
No, but they were in mine.
They were.
And they were. In fact, they were number 3, and I dropped them just a little bit because of. Basically, I've got one team that jumped big time into my number 1 spot.
Interesting. My number 3 team is, of course, Colorado, because of the fact that they have continued to prove that they can not lose at the end of the day. I mean, yes, they did have that loss to NYCFC, but NYCFC this year has been one of those teams, Simon, that nobody can really predict how good they actually are, because then they go and they lose to a team like the Red Bulls consistently, and sometimes they just can't put it together.
If you get to knock a team 3 spots for giving up 2 goals, I've got no problem dropping a team after losing 5-1.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So my number 3 is the LA Galaxy. Yes, they are on quite an unbeaten streak, but drawing with Seattle 1-1, drawing with the Red Bulls after being down 2-0 at home. This actually has nothing to do with the Open Cup because I don't figure that into my power rankings.
Sure.
But when I'm looking at teams right now, as much as LA can fire on all cylinders, we haven't seen them doing that in the last couple of games.
Fair enough. My number 2 is Toronto FC, 4-game unbeaten streak, and that's not necessarily been against the best teams in the league.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter, Simon, they've scored 12 goals in 4 games.
Against weak Eastern Conference teams. So if you're going to use that argument against
they've got
Dallas,
they've got a plus 10 goal difference, though. I don't care who they were playing. They've got a plus 10 goal difference.
See, it does matter to me who they play.
It's an unbeaten streak, though.
But
Giovinco's got 2 hat tricks in 4 games.
You can't say that's fine, great, one player. You can't say in one breath that Dallas isn't impressive because they're not beating good teams, and then turn around and say, well, TFC's impressive even though they're not beating good teams.
At the end of the day, though, they've still scored far more goals than Dallas have, though, in the last 4 games.
But Dallas is a more complete team. If they met in the playoffs right now.
Well, of course Dallas would win.
Okay, thank you. Moving on.
I do a lot of these things on the show just to fuss with you, though.
I know. My number 2 team, which I actually argue with myself about, is the New York Red Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
They're also on a quite a bit of an unbeaten streak.
Sure.
They play without Bradley Wright Phillips. They go into LA and they walk away with a point. I already made this point about they're flying across all the time zones. And to me, yes, you give up 2 goals, but it's still an impressive draw that you have. So you tire out in the 80th minute and you give up 2 goals.
Well, they also lost 3 people to injury that game, though.
Exactly, right. They did beat their big rivals.
No Dax McCarty in that game either.
So for me, New York Red Bulls, as much as I argue with myself thinking, are they really a number 2? I'm going with yes, they are, and I'm going to keep them there. So
all right.
Our number. So for the first time in a long time, our power rankings,
the same number 1s.
Not the same number 1s.
Coming to that time of the year, I feel like,
right,
Simon, where we start to finally deviate a little bit.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is our entire power rankings are vastly different from each other, whereas these past few weeks they've been, well, a little bit different.
It's been the same teams, just different positions.
Yeah.
And my number 1 this week, I guess you can say, is a team you've already talked about, is the LA Galaxy, because of not only their unbeaten streak, but their ability to hold on in games and come back from behind, of course. I mean, being down to a team like the Red Bulls, who, as you mentioned, are the number 2 team in your power rankings and a very, very good team in the Eastern Conference. Very likely they'll make a deep run in the playoffs as well, too. But the fact that you can go down at home, as we know, in the StubHub Center, which is a hard place to win at on the road. But to say, you know what, we're not going to go away. We're going to come back, and we're going to be able to tie this game, I think shows the true grit and tenacity of what the Galaxy possess, and they were able to do that. That's just why I still think they're the best team in the league right now.
Well, I don't think they're the best team, but I still think we'll see them make a deep run in the playoffs. But my number one is FC Dallas.
Makes sense.
And I've already basically made my arguments. It's because of the way they play. They are one of the few complete teams in all of MLS that seems to get it together every single game.
I agree. I completely agree with you on that one. Let us know your thoughts about our power rankings. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at 2UpFront and 2UpFront Soccer, at Baxter Colburn, at Simon Provan, and drop us an email, 2UpFront at 2UpFrontSoccer@gmail.com. All right, time for the final segment of the show. And of course, Simon, you can lead things off this week because I'm a very nice, caring, and giving soul.
You are. This actually goes back to our conversation with Sarah Hagen and the Orlando Pride. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year. They've got a lot to get together, but they keep this team intact. I believe that Orlando Pride will be one of the best 3 teams next year in the NWSL.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. Wow.
So very early prediction for next year in the NWSL.
Goodness. All right. For me, my I Believe segment, I've thought about this a couple of different ways. Boy, there's a couple of different ways I could go with mine, but I think I'm gonna stick with a timely one and stick with Alejandra Bedoya, and I think that I believe that Bedoya coming to Philadelphia is going to be that final spark that continues to light the match, that Philadelphia is going to then be able to soar up the table to where they were early on in the season. I think his international experience and his offensive awareness is going to be a huge thing to thrust them from 5 all the way up to 2 or 1 in the Eastern Conference.
Well, he had a great career over in Ligue 1, and there's no reason he can't do it here.
I agree.
With a team like Philadelphia who really can use him. By the way, Hull City still has not named an official manager to their squad, and apparently
Ziggy Schmidt,
Bob Bradley is one of the ones that's at the top of the list.
Why not? Get him back in the Prem.
In the Prem.
In the Prem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
Oh, and why not with a club like Hull City? They're the type of club that needs to take a chance. You know, they just got back up there again, so why not have somebody who has proven... Well, he's proven that he knows how to take these lesser teams, quote-unquote lesser teams, and be successful with them.
Agreed. I completely agree. Why not? I mean, why not? At this point, if you're Bob Bradley, that would be an incredible opportunity, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, well, special thanks to Josh Hakala from the Cup.us, their senior editor, and, of course, Sarah Hagen of the Orlando Pride as well for joining us, and the U.S. Women's National Team. Great show that we had for you this week. Obviously, you can find all of our shows on demand by going to the Sports Podcasting Network and listening to our show at 11:30 a.m. Central Time, and then on demand on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker.com, and, of course, on our website, 2UpFrontSoccer.com.
We're also on Facebook, 2UpFront. Also find us on Twitter at 2UpFrontSoccer. I am at Simon Provan. He's at Baxter Colburn.
And you can drop us an email anytime you want by going to 2UpFrontSoccer@gmail.com. Simon Provan, always a pleasure, sir.
Likewise,
best
Baxter.
Wishes on your travels this weekend.
That's right. I won't be here next week.
Up north and
all
those
up
other
north
places.
there, trying to catch some fish if I can get my boat motor to work.
Oh, I just paddled around here without the paddles and just kicking the water there. I don't know. Either way, he's Simon Provan. I'm Baxter Colburn. With our manager being the one above, we are 2UpFront.